If you found the ending less than satisfying, you're not alone. It was a subject of debate and consternation all through the writing, production, and editing. Originally, the finish was to be a series of short, violent scenes showing Wilson's return to the city and his fall back into the urban inferno. Now, this followed a scene in which Mary closes her front door on the lost and lonely cop, literally leaving him out in the cold. But neither Robert Ryan nor Ida Lupino were happy with that. So, with Nick Ray's permission, they enacted their own scene, one which was never intended to be the finale of the movie. And that's what gave rise to persistent rumors that Ida Lupino directed parts of this movie. In fact, it's just that one scene, one that she and Ryan blocked out together. Now, a committee of RKO executives, led by producer Jerry Wald, trimmed more than 8 minutes from Ray's cut and insisted on a few reshoots and add-ons. Some scenes intended for the coda were shifted to the first act, and Wilson's return to the city was trimmed to a mere moment of dire existential reflection. But before you curse the suits for meddling with an artist's work, the truth is that Jerry Wald stood firm for Nick Ray's vision against Howard Hughes, who, after seeing the picture, wanted Ida Lupino's character cut out entirely. Now, no one involved was entirely happy with the result, but everyone recognized Ray's brilliance as a director. The actors were especially fond of him. Lupino tried to convince Ray to take a major acting role in her next film, Hard, Fast, and Beautiful. And Robert Ryan found Ray to be an ideal collaborator, one who let actors find their own way into a character. Ray never demanded things be done a certain way. He preferred to quietly collaborate, working towards capturing truthful moments on camera. Now, the sequence composer Bernard Herrmann found the most satisfying among all his scores is the climactic chase through the snow, a passage he entitled The Death Hunt. It employed a dynamic arrangement of 9 horns, trumpets, trombones, and tubas in polyphonic rhythms. Herrmann saw the initial cut, he was enraged that the sound mix made the braying of the dogs more prominent than his music. He threatened to withdraw his entire score if the mix wasn't corrected. RKO musical director Konstantin Bakalennikov told him that was ridiculous, as he'd already been paid. Herrmann then revealed that he'd never actually signed his contract nor cashed his checks, and he ended up getting the sound mix he wanted. Although On Dangerous Ground was not a critical or box office success, its reputation has increased over the years. Modern audiences are willing to overlook the awkward plotting to focus on Robert Ryan's powerhouse performance, Nick Ray's dynamic direction, and Herrmann's spectacular score, which, as I mentioned at the top, foreshadowed his work with Alfred Hitchcock, particularly North by Northwest. In addition to those legendary scores for Hitchcock, Bernard Herrmann produced tremendous work for an array of films and filmmakers in the 60s and 70s. He provided majestic music for Ray Harryhausen, fantasies like The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and Jason and the Argonauts, as well as tension-filled tracks for Francois Truffaut's Fahrenheit 451 and The Bride Wore Black. By the 1970s, a new generation of American filmmakers was hiring Herrmann, largely as homage to his work with Hitchcock. He scored Sisters and Obsession for Brian De Palma, and his last score, finished only hours before he died in 1975, was for Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver, a film that includes more than a few visual and audio references to On Dangerous Ground. Herrmann's music continues to provide inspiration to new generations of film composers. If you want to know more about the man, I highly recommend the biography A Heart at Fire's Center by Stephen Smith, which chronicles the life and work of this phenomenal musician. I leave you with a few casting notes from today's film. Gatos, one of the shifty citizens Wilson looks down on, was played by the film's writer, Buzz Bazarides.
Hey, Jim. Well, how are you, Jim? Where you been keeping yourself? You haven't been around, I haven't seen you around.
And for the role of Danny, Nick Ray kept things close to home, casting his own nephew, Sumner Williams. vixenish Myrna Bowers was a breakthrough role for actress Cleo Moore, who'd go on to have a busy and busty career in the 1950s, playing wanton bad girls in a slew of tawdry pictures, like One Girl's Confession, The Other Woman, and Overexposed. Well, let us know what you thought of On Dangerous Ground on our Facebook page and Twitter feed. Next week, we're going back to RKO for one of the studio's tried and true B offerings, a terse police procedural shot on location in New York, written and directed by no one you ever heard of. It's a 64-minute obscurity called The Tattooed Stranger, and you'll never believe where they find that tattoo. Central Park. Until next time, happy 108th birthday, Benny. The music lives on.